Good morning, everyone. Good morning. And welcome to the town of Marshall. It is a true honor, once again, to have Governor Josh Stein with us today. Governor, we are deeply grateful for your leadership, your steadfast support, and your partnership with our community. Your commitment to Western North Carolina has made a real difference in our recovery and our future. We are also pleased to welcome back Secretary Reed Wilson from the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality. Mr. Secretary, thank you for being here.
Of course, thank you.
And thank you for the important work that you and your department do across our region and state. This past year has tested our community in ways we never imagined. Hurricane Helene brought real hardship, but it also brought out the very best in our people. We've seen neighbors helping neighbors, local organizations working side by side, and a spirit of resilience that reminds us of what Madison County is made of. Now, throughout it all, Governor Stein has been a steady partner, not just to Marshall, but to towns across all of Western North Carolina. He has made it clear that our mountain communities matter and that the state is committed to helping us rebuild stronger, safer, and better prepared for the future. His leadership and the resources he's helped deliver have made a real difference here on the ground. So on behalf of the town of Marshall and all of Madison County, I want to say thank you, Governor. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your leadership. And thank you for your belief in the people of Western North Carolina. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the Governor of North Carolina, Mr. Josh Stein.
Well, good morning, everybody. I want to thank the mayor for that incredible, warm introduction. I want to thank him for his leadership through these trying times. You took office in 23.
Yes, sir.
You didn't know what you were getting in 24. And we are grateful for the incredible work you've been putting in to help this community come back. I'm here with Secretary of Environmental Quality Reed Wilson, Jane Margaret Bell from the Land of Sky Regional Council, and Sarah Noah with Mountain Valleys Resource Conservation and Development Council. We are here standing beside the majestic French Broad River in beautiful Marshall with an exciting announcement. We're awarding nearly $6 million in grants from the DEQ's Flood Resiliency Blueprint Program to help protect our state from floods. And as Secretary Wilson will discuss, more grants will soon be on the way. The $6 million will be going to 11 projects in the river basins of the French Broad, Cape Fear, Neuse, Tar Pamlico, and Lumber Rivers. Today's $6 million will help local governments restore river channels, increase floodplain water storage, and plant forested stream banks so that the communities are less vulnerable to flooding in the future. We know that there will be floods in the future, so we're making smart investments now to strengthen our riverbanks and to promote resilience to reduce future flooding impacts. A year ago, Helene's record rains overwhelmed the French Broad, causing the river to crest at nearly 25 feet. How much above the bridge, Mayor, did the water get?
It crest over the hill of the bridge right there, so I mean it's
That bridge was underwater. It's just incredible to imagine an impact of that scale. The floodwaters washed out homes, bridges, businesses, roads, and the railroad. When the water finally subsided, the river was left terribly polluted. Today's grant to the Land of Sky Regional Council will restore approximately 4,000 linear feet of stream channel, plant 2 3/4 acres of riparian buffer, and add 11 acre-feet of floodplain water storage along the French Broad River. And y'all tell me if this is right. 11 acre-feet is 11 acres of land with 1 foot of depth to take water. I passed science class. Investing in resilience and enhancing the French Broad River Basin will help us better protect towns like Marshall from future flooding and protect rivers from pollution. I want to give a big thank you to Secretary Wilson and his team at the Department of Environmental Quality for reviewing all of the applications and getting this money out quickly. And there are other programs that he is working on to get the money out quickly. There will be more to come. I want to thank the General Assembly for appropriating these funds. And I want to thank all the applicants for their commitment to improving the state's resilience for dealing with future natural disasters. I will now invite forward Secretary Wilson to say some more words. Secretary, I'll kick it to you.
Thank you, Governor. Good morning, everyone. Mayor Haney, it is always a great pleasure to be back in beautiful, beautiful Marshall. We at DEQ, we are excited to make this announcement with Governor Stein of the nearly $6 million for 11 flood resiliency projects across the state. 3 of those are here in the French Broad River Basin. I think we all know that North Carolina is facing increasingly frequent, severe, and expensive flooding events, and that is why the North Carolina Flood Resiliency Blueprint was created. And I want to thank the General Assembly, just like the Governor did, for providing the funds to create the blueprint. A few words about what it actually is. It is a groundbreaking data-based initiative that helps local governments plan and invest in specific strategies and projects to make their communities more resilient to future floods. So by uniting data, tools, and expertise, the blueprint empowers local leaders to protect residents and businesses and critical infrastructure, thereby building communities' resilience to these future flooding events. So again, thanks to the General Assembly, this is the state's largest investment ever in flood mitigation. And so far, DEQ has funded 72 projects from the blueprint around the state, totaling $35 million, and that includes the 11 projects that we're talking about today. So we are here along the French Broad, and this is near where the Land of Sky Regional Council will restore about 8/10 of a mile of the stream channel and plant stream bank vegetation to hold the stream bank in place so that this area can better absorb floodwaters. The amount of money coming to this particular project is $789,000 from the blueprint. The other 2 projects in the French Broad River Basin are, one is in Yancey County to the Soil and Water Conservation District. They'll receive $100,000 to restore close to 1,000 feet of stream channel and add natural flood storage in a residential area that was heavily impacted by Helene. And in Haywood County, the Southwestern Commission will restore about 1/2 mile of stream channel, plant 3 acres of forested vegetation along the banks of the Pigeon River in Clyde. And that will be $110,000 for that project. As with many grant programs, these 11 grants are the result of a partnership with local entities, but also within our department. So the funds come from the blueprint, but these particular projects were selected by our Water Resources Division because they have expertise in these kinds of things. And the really good news is that in the coming weeks and months, DEQ will allocate $9 million more for flood resiliency projects in the French Broad Basin. And so we'll be coming back again to make those announcements in the near future. I want to stress, though, that this funding we're announcing today is just one of the things we have been doing at DEQ to provide local governments and community groups with funding and other assistance to help rebuild Western North Carolina in a more resilient fashion. For instance, we have approved $86 million out of nearly $700 million that the Environmental Protection Agency has allocated to us to help local communities rebuild drinking water systems and wastewater systems, and not just to build them the way they were, but to make them more resilient for future flooding. And if you're a local government and you haven't applied yet, if you apply by November 3rd, you'll be considered for the next round of funding, but that is not the final round of funding. Let me be clear. We'll be allocating these dollars for a good while. Also, as of this week, local governments can apply for grants from a total of $10 million available for dam safety projects and a separate $25 million for repair and upgrades and expansions of damaged recycling infrastructure in the mountains. If you're a local government, get in touch with us. We may be able to help you with some of those grant funds. Also, we have granted $12 million to 2 nonprofits to clean up stream debris along 125 miles in the North Carolina mountains, and we have invested $5 million to install microgrids to improve energy resiliency in the future. We have a whole bunch of other things we're doing, but I want to get to our next speakers. But I just want to stress that we have been very active, and DEQ is in this for the long haul. We want to be as helpful as we possibly can to the communities in Western North Carolina so that they can recover, rebuild, and be more resilient to future storms that we know are coming. So thank you, and it is my pleasure to turn over the platform to Sarah Noah. Sarah?
Good morning. And thank you to everyone for joining us here today. My name is Sarah Noah. I work for Mountain Valley's Resource Conservation and Development Council, and I live across this river about 1.5 miles downstream from where we are. Helene left the ground we're standing on and the town you see before you unrecognizable. The damage was catastrophic, and as soon as the water receded, we rolled up our sleeves and we got to work. 2 hands turned into dozens of hands, then hundreds, then thousands. And in less than 13 months, and with a tremendous amount of support, we've moved mountains on our path to recovery. Some of the most severe flooding in Marshall occurred in the communities directly upstream, Rollins Road and Fortner Hollow. The families that call these neighborhoods home are part of the fabric of our town. For many residents, this is multi-generational land. They speak the language of the river. They've seen it rise and seen it change, and they suffered loss during the storm and since, and this project is for them. Helene was a turning point for our community, and we've taken this time to consider how we can rebuild better with a focus on resilience for the future. This project will restore nearly 4,000 linear feet of the banks of the French Broad River, creating 11 acre-feet of additional water storage in the floodplain. We will stabilize the stream banks using a rock toe revetment and vegetated soil lifts and plant over 3.5 acres of riparian buffer with native vegetation. We expect to be in the design and procurement phase by the end of this year, and the project will be completed no later than October of 2028. I want to deeply thank the NCDEQ's Flood Resiliency Blueprint program for this critical investment in our natural resources, and the North Carolina Division of Water Resources WRDG program for their administration of this funding. I also want to thank the Madison County Soil and Water Conservation District, the Town of Marshall, and Jennings Environmental for support in the application phase. As well, we have additional funders who are making this project possible. The NC Soil and Water Conservation District STRAP program, Light End Center of Consciousness and Action, the French Broad Crossing Madison County Support Foundation, the Community Foundation of Western North Carolina's Emergency Disaster Relief Fund, and Madison Alliance for Rebuilding Communities. Lastly, this would not have been possible without the encouragement and guidance of the team at Land of Sky Regional Council. This project highlights how effective the partnership between RC&Ds and units of government can be in implementing projects that enhance and conserve natural resources and improve people's lives. Thank you. And I would like to introduce Jane Margaret Bell from Land of Sky Council.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jane Margaret Bell. So on behalf of Land of Sky Regional Council, I want to thank NCDEQ Flood Resiliency Blueprint for this critical investment in floodplain resiliency here in Marshall and across our mountain region. and beyond, as we just heard. As we watched the French Broad River overtop its banks last year and peak higher than any of us thought possible, those of us charged with protecting the waterways faced the daunting reality of the environmental devastation that would be left behind and the overwhelm of not knowing where to start. However, the Rollins Road and Fortner Hollow Riverbank Restoration Project illustrates how far we've come and is a prime example that we can heal our rivers and our communities when we come together and share resources. With local leaders like Sarah Noah and regional coordination through the COG, we can reduce flood risk, protect lives, and restore the natural systems that keep our communities safe. Through this effort, almost 4,000 feet of riverbank will be stabilized and planted with native vegetation. The project will add flood storage that could cover over 12 football fields, 1 foot deep. That's larger than the size of this island. So that's enormous. And thanks to the generous funding from NCDEQ and many other partners, this project will reconnect floodplains so the river can safely store and release floodwaters, restore riparian buffers that slow water, improve water quality, and provide vital habitat, repair eroding banks to prevent further loss of land and sediment pollution, protect critical infrastructure in historic and underserved communities, and finally engage our residents and partners to align this work with community recovery and long-term resilience goals. In the wake of Hurricane Helene and other devastating floods, this work is both urgent and deeply encouraging. It represents our region's commitment to rebuilding smarter, stronger, and with natural disaster resiliency at the forefront. We, Land of Sky Regional Council, are proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with our partners at Mountain Valley's RC&D and the town of Marshall, whose vision, persistence, and local leadership make this project possible. Together, we're showing what true resiliency looks like in the heart of Western North Carolina. Thank you so much.
Happy to take questions, and you can address any of the speakers.
I'll actually ask the mayor first. So, Mayor, without these grants, could the town by itself paid for any of these repairs or anything that's been talked about?
That would have been very difficult for the town to have been able to do that. We are thankful for these grants. You know how the cost of everything is just so expensive nowadays, and how our budget is, it just wouldn't have been able to withstand anything of that magnitude without the support of the state and these grants.
Yeah, a question for Governor Stein. You call this the largest investment from the state ever. Why did it take something to scale up the lane to get this money approved and through?
Well, the encouraging thing about this program is that there was foresight in the legislature. This blueprint, and Secretary Wilson can speak more to it, was actually authorized a couple years ago. And as you heard, not all of this round of projects are in the west, because there has been a great deal of flooding, as we all know, in the east of the state as well. And so this is part of a normal course of trying to make this state more resilient, because we've had now 3 500-year floods in the last decade. We know there will be more to come, and we want to make sure that when those floods come, that we can minimize the impact as much as we can. Secretary Wilson, anything to add on blueprint?
I guess I'd just add that it was several years ago that the legislature passed this funding, which we are now well on our way to getting out to communities in the 6 river basins that were included in the original flood resiliency blueprint. So as I think we know, there are 11 other basins in the state, and we're hopeful that in the coming years the legislature will provide funding for those as well, because these projects are necessary in just about every community around the state. We know whether it's the coast or the mountains that there could be flooding, and if local communities can get the funding in advance to make them less vulnerable to those flooding events, that's going to help everybody, save lives, save property, save businesses. So we are looking forward to not only finishing this round of funding, but doing so in the future for the entire state.
And how many more rounds of funding does the blueprint have, and how much more money is still sitting but is waiting to be allocated?
So the total amount we have for making grants to communities around the state is about $76 million, and we have specifically allocated $35 million, so a little less than half. But we have a lot of potential projects identified in those 6 river basins, and we will be making announcements in the coming weeks and months because we are trying to get these funds out to communities as quickly as we can because they need them.
This is a question for both you guys. What, 11 projects across the state, and what made Marshall the place to make this announcement here today?
I got to tell you, I've been to Marshall a handful of times, and I'm inspired every time I come. I'm also happy every time I come. And so when it came time to choosing a place, I wanted to come here with some good news. These folks have worked incredibly hard, just incredibly hard. If you drove through the downtown, you saw that if the business was not yet open, there's somebody in there with a hammer trying to get it open as quickly as possible. And it's just my way of saying thank you to the people of this town for lifting me.
We'll take one more question if you have one.
This will just be an off-topic question. I think all of you have answered my questions. I know next week the legislature will be talking about redistricting out there. I'm not sure how much power you have over the legislature when it comes to that, but I just want to get your thoughts on redistricting and your power over what they decide next week.
Yeah, under our state constitution, the governor does not have the authority to veto redistricting. So they will do what they do. And their proposal is an abuse of their power. Just because you have power does not mean you should exercise it. In fact, they're abusing their power to take away the people's power, the voters' power, because they're trying to decide for the voters who their congressperson is. In this representative democracy, the people choose their representatives. It should not be the representatives choosing their people. And meanwhile, understand this is a General Assembly, one of only 2 in the entire country that has not yet passed a budget. So they've failed to pass a budget. They have failed to pay our teachers and law enforcement what they deserve. They have failed to fully expand Medicaid. Now they are failing the voters by taking away their authority to choose their own elected representatives. It's a disgrace.
Gosh, thank you so much. Likewise. We truly, it is not lost on us how massive this investment is. And I was, absolutely. And
Thank you.